It was a big Sunday for the Maize and Blue. Of course, those need to translate into big Saturdays down the road. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down, yes, the Maize and Blue with Justin Rowe. Catch him on Stadium and Main podcast. Of course, if you enjoy the content right here, give us a like, subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live and drop new content. Justin, how are we doing today?
Doing great. It's been sunny a couple days in a row here in Ann Arbor. It seems like the weather's turning for the good. I know last time we talked, I think we had 16 inches of snow or something like that. So spring, it feels like spring is here. I know you're not a basketball guy, but Michigan basketball just went up to number 2 in the country. So Michigan athletics in general had a great weekend, great last week. And so things are looking up here in Ann Arbor.
I've covered a lot of basketball in my past, but currently no basketball for me. So I got to say, the term 5-star gets thrown around way too much, I think, around college football circles for people that are just getting a glimpse of recruiting, aren't really into it, and say, well, Alabama gets all the 5 stars and there's a ton of it, like there's 5 stars all over the place. It's not many of these guys, and not many that hail from the state of Michigan in terms of their high school football play. So to get one of these guys is huge. And Will Johnson, the 5-star cornerback, on Sunday said, I'm going to Michigan.
Yeah, and honestly, so it is a huge get. Obviously, it was gigantic for this new Michigan coaching staff, Mo Linguist and Mike McDonald, the new co-coordinators and everything on the defensive side of the ball. But I'll say this. It was a necessity. It honestly was a layup. His dad played football at Michigan. He hailed from the state of Michigan here. So, I mean, I think if Will Johnson decided not to go to Michigan, we'd probably be on here saying, wow, what a huge miss for Michigan. So as big of a get as it was, I think it was a pretty big layup for Michigan. So it does say good things about the coaching staff for sure, that they were able to secure this commitment, especially just only being on campus for the last month or so. But I just have to say, these are the types of guys that Michigan, if they truly do want to win on Saturdays, as you said in the beginning, they need to get these guys, especially coming from the state of Michigan. And Domani Jackson was one of those guys as well, who Michigan lost out on to USC, where now there's rumors that because Will Johnson has committed to Michigan, maybe they can get Domani Jackson back too in a late push. But these are the guys that if Michigan does want to take things to the next level, they do need to get these guys on a regular basis. And so, but now, now with what this 21 class looks like for the secondary, they've got 2 4-star corners and 1 5-star corner here in Will Johnson. So it's a huge class for Michigan. Mo Linguist has come out and said this is going to be one of the best classes in Michigan history. He has predicted that. So we talked about it right before we got on here. Maybe they want to set the bar lower a little bit so that they can exceed some expectations instead of setting that bar so high. And then, obviously you have to go out and prove it. How are you going to produce with this talent that you have? Are you going to be able to develop these guys into actual contributors on Saturdays instead of them being, a bust or even just a low-level guy? You need to have production from a guy like Daxton Hill, who was a 5-star coming in, and then, he's had 5-star production. So when you put all those pieces together, it does look good for Michigan going, moving into the future. But we've seen the recruitments and we've seen these guys come in, and it hasn't produced to wins on Saturdays. But as we're sitting here March 1st, I do think things are looking good for Michigan in terms of the future in recruiting and with this new coaching staff.
Will Johnson has said repeatedly that 2 of the main draws for Michigan is, number 1, academics, great school, and also that he understands the need. He understands that he's going to immediately be called upon to play and that the opportunity is going to be wide open for him to step on the field from day one and have that opportunity. And to extend on your point, as we discussed last week, we saw Michigan secondary that was arguably the worst since fill in the blank, roughly 10 or 12 years ago, probably in those Rich Rod, early Brady Hoke years of 3-9 and 5-7 under Rich Rod in particular. I'm not going to drag Brady Hoke into that mess because he had a pretty good run before his final season. But at the same time, the secondary help coming in for 2021 was just 2 3-stars, which, again, those individuals could turn out to be tremendous players, but most likely what you're getting are 2 3-stars, and they should probably be serviceable, but not the kind of guys that are going to change the trajectory in that particular unit. So good news for Michigan football, but you got to hang on to that recruitment now and that commitment for 10 months until National Signing Day. Probably what makes it a little bit stronger of a commitment, I would think, would be the in-state factor. Then also, as you say, the legacy with his father, Deion Johnson.
Yeah, I think now it is tough with those early commits that you do have to hang on to those guys, right? You almost kind of want, as a fan, you almost want them to wait a little bit, weigh all their options, so you don't have to, hang on to that guy for so long. But that's how college recruiting is now, because as soon as a guy commits like that, these other schools don't just say, all right, we're done, we're going to lay off this guy's to Michigan. So they'll still come on hard. It's definitely, I assume, when we're 9 months down the road, there will be some big late pushes by Ohio State and USC, who are in the top 3 for Will Johnson. So obviously Ohio State being the big rival, they're going to want to steal a 5-star from them, from Michigan here. And with Domani Jackson at USC currently, they're going to make a push and say, hey, are you sure you don't want to be in sunny California and play with your best bud, Domani, here instead of in Ann Arbor, where it's going to be, down in the 20s and 30s when you're playing in late November? So it's definitely going to be a tough job for them to keep him for the next 10 months. But I do think that I think other schools won't pursue him as much because of the legacy. I think it was basically a done deal for with his dad Deion playing at Michigan. Seemed like he really pushed him there and told him that he had a great experience and et cetera, et cetera. So I do think that will be tough, but I think that it won't be as bad of a push or as big of a push from other schools than maybe some other recruits that don't have any ties.
The voice of college football discussing the maize and blue after a banner Sunday in which they reel in Jim Harbaugh and his staff, 5-star defensive back Will Johnson, and also get a quarterback transfer from Texas Tech in Alan Bowman. So not necessarily the guy that's going to change the program or be the dynamic 5-star type talent, but he was a serviceable starter for 3 years, for most of those 3 years with Texas Tech, Justin. So, of course, it's a situation where you had limited experience, either with the 5-star J.J. McCarthy, just starting from the ground up, boom, right out of the gate, or Cade McNamara, who gained some valuable experience against Rutgers and Penn State. But now you've got a proven guy that you at least know there's a security blanket there.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of Michigan fans out there that said, oh no, another transfer quarterback. Can we please have Jim Harbaugh produce his own quarterback that he's recruited and developed and everything like that? That's not what this is. This is not Michigan trying to go out and get a Shea Patterson to come in and start right away. This is adding depth to a QB room that desperately needs it. Michigan, it couldn't have been more obvious in this past year that Michigan needed depth at the quarterback position, especially after you see, we talked about it last week. We couldn't believe that after talking all summer long about Milton versus McCaffrey, that both of them are gone. Well, now you've got a guy in Cade McNamara who showed some great stuff in this 2020 season, but I don't know if he's the guy. And J.J. McCarthy, yes, he will probably be the guy in the future, but is he going to be ready in week 1 as a freshman? I don't know. So with all that being said, I think that this is a great land for Michigan to add the depth with a guy that has experience. Listen, even if he doesn't ever play a snap for Michigan, he's going to be a great guy to add to that QB room with experience. He could be a great signal caller. He could be a great mentor to J.J. McCarthy to say, hey, I've been through this. I've been benched before. I've gone through this in the Big 12. I've played for a bad team. I've played for some good teams there at Houston. He's done it all. So I think it's a great land for Michigan to add depth to that room. And I think actually he has a shot to start. I don't see why he wouldn't be getting looks to start. He's got the experience. He did get benched at the end of last year, but I think that with Josh Gaddis's offense, a lot of his throws were very short throws. He had a really high completion percentage, almost 70% over his career at Houston. But that's what Michigan was doing with Joe Milton by the end of it, was short throws to the speedy wide receivers on the outs, and then, slants. And that's the speed and space that Josh Gaddis is trying to get at. So I really like this. I think he could come in and really help contribute. If Cade McNamara doesn't end up being the guy, maybe they try it with Alan Bowman before they actually go to JJ McCarthy, because I'm not a big fan of throwing the freshman in there, into the fire if he's not truly ready. If JJ McCarthy is ready, no doubt Michigan should go with him. But if he is, 75% of the way there, try these other guys out, especially in the first couple of games against, the lesser opponents. See how it goes, and maybe one of those guys can get into a rhythm. So I think this is a really, really big get for Michigan. And it was really shocking. I don't know about you, but I didn't hear anything about this in terms of rumors, and then all of a sudden it landed yesterday when we were all focusing on Will Johnson, and then all of a sudden, about an hour before that, they get an Alan Bowman transfer from Houston for the QB room. So pretty interesting how it all played out, but I still think that this is something that will really help Michigan in the future, because I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen in this QB room going into 2021.
Bowman, to your point, 67% completion percentage, 33 touchdowns passing in his career, 17 picks. And again, he's moving from a place where he was surrounded by top 60 to 70 talent in the nation in regards to recruiting rankings to top 10 to 12 talent in the country, if you're just looking at flat out recruiting rankings.
Yeah, the other thing that I really like about Alan Bowman is he seems like a Jim Harbaugh quarterback. High completion percentage, low turnover rate. It's really something that Jim Harbaugh looks for in a quarterback. He's smart. He's experienced. He's not a gunslinger, really, although Houston does sling it, but he's not a guy that's running around and not protecting the football and throwing it into coverage. He's a guy that's going to throw short passes, not into coverage. He's going to make the right decision. I think Jim Harbaugh sees Alan Bowman as a guy that he can groom a little bit, and they obviously have this new quarterbacks coach as well. So maybe the new QB coach said, hey, I really like this guy. I think he can be a contributor to us. But I see him as a Jake Rudock type of quarterback, a Wilton Spate type of quarterback who they're not going to make any crazy great throws, right? It's not going to be, they're not going to jump off the paper at you, but they could be serviceable enough to get the job done if put in the right situation. And we know that Michigan has the talent around the quarterback position on offense this year to make that, to give them the weapons that they need at quarterback. So when you're looking at the wide receiver position, when you're looking at the running back position, they've got a lot of talent. The question mark is still that offensive line, because it's a lot of new faces. But I think that this is Alan Bowman is a quarterback that could come in and really, do his job and be a serviceable quarterback. Maybe I could see it panning out as JJ McCarthy's not ready yet. So maybe he's the third stringer for his freshman year. And then Cade McNamara gets a start because he did well last year. He knows the playbook. He is a very smart quarterback, and really, I know Jim Harbaugh likes him a lot because of his preparation. And then Alan Bowman comes in as the backup because he's got the experience. He's done it before. And then they say, all right, JJ, redshirt year. We don't think you're quite ready physically yet. We're not sure. We're going to let these guys battle it out, and we're going to redshirt you, and you're going to be the guy next year. Because who knows what Alan Bowman is going to do moving forward. I think he's close to getting his degree now and everything like that. So, I think that's how I could see it panning out. I also could see JJ coming in being the guy. I think that, anybody right now who tells you that they have a clue what's going on in that quarterback room is bluffing. They're lying through their teeth, because I don't think anybody knows. But this adds another layer to it with Alan Bowman, that I think it's just another layer of protection for Jim Harbaugh in the quarterback situation, because if it was really down to just Cade McNamara and JJ McCarthy, you're probably hoping that JJ McCarthy just comes out and is a star from day one. But now they've got a layer of protection here that if Cade McNamara is not the guy, you probably have somebody who's serviceable enough to get you through a year before JJ McCarthy is thrown into the mix.
Justin Rose, Stadium and Main podcast, joining us on a regular basis to talk about Michigan football, and so much to talk about. And again, a banner Sunday for Jim Harbaugh and his staff. They get a quarterback transfer in Alan Bowman, and of course the 5-star cornerback in Will Johnson. Now they just need to hang on to him for about 10 months before they get him to sign here coming up in December. Justin, we always appreciate it.